Hi, I'd like to start the show with a song. New you. That's for a gift to connect with real universes, with real universal guides. If a person tests it for themselves, see what life shows you, do it for like 15 minutes before you go to sleep each night and 15 minutes when you wake up in the morning. Today we have Heather Winnoa Ellis and Dean Ball of Nations United Universal University sent a bio about Heather that I'll read here. Heather believes children are what makes this world so colorful. When she looks at the sparkles in their eyes, she remembers the child inside her still dreams. She anchors herself in this as she immerses herself into her creative storytelling adventures. Heather grew up in a household filled with fairy tales and fantastical stories. Her love for reading and working with children led her down a path as a national board certified teacher, educating students with special needs. She took stories and brought them to life by recreating scenes from books, engrossing the students into the story. Her creative spirit journeyed her to Africa, where she worked with students on literacy projects for the community. This built a bridge for her to venture out and write an absorbing and imaginative fantasy fiction, Colors of the World Adventures. This is the first installment of the Legends of the Five Realms series. Her creative spirit embarks on a new journey in the second installment of the Legends of the Five Realms series with Guardian of the Dream Tree, in an engaging storyline with new characters encountering some of her favorites from her first book, Colors of the World Adventures. Her love for poetry inspired her writings in the Legends of the Five Realms series. She wrote her first book of poetry, Quiet Reflections of the Human Spirit, in 2012. She also wrote 7 Steps on How to Connect with Your Audience Through Using Your Story in 2015. Her years as a teacher and as a speaker has given her unique insight on how to connect with an audience without letting stage fright overcome you. She loves sharing her storytelling skills with children, whether at creative venues like KidsCon, Los Angeles, classrooms, libraries, and soon at Orange County Children's Book Festival in October. She also enjoys teaching aspiring writers on how to create and publish books. She lives in Long Beach, California with her family. That's pretty interesting. You mentioned the 5 realms. Could you describe that a little for us?
Okay, I will. Thank you for having me on your show, by the way. Hello, everyone. The 5 realms, basically what it is the realms of the different places where my characters live. So we have Aurora Lights in the mountains. Then we have the Fairy Meadows. And we also have the Fire Mountains. And we have the Western Wetlands. That's another one. That's one of my favorite places. And a forest, one of the forests in there. So they're all different creatures that are within these 5 realms. And some of them are talking animals. Some of them are fairies. Some of them are dryad warriors that live there. There's just different creatures and humans too.
Okay, thank you. And
You're welcome.
you mentioned dreams. Do you have dream visions that you're writing about?
Yes, I do actually. That's how these two stories came about. They came from dreams that I've had. I'm a pretty avid dreamer. The poems that you'll see inside the stories, when you read them, you'll see that they come from dreams that I've had. And then I've taken it and extended it into a storyline, and then wrap it up with fantastical characters to kind of show what I see in my dreams. So it's fun for kids to read because I'm all about kids reading, and I want them to enjoy a lifestyle of reading.
Yeah, that sounds real great. That you recall your dream visions and are able to write books about them. Do you have any experiences? You mentioned fairies and things. Do you have any experiences like with real guides? Have you ever heard of Rebas Artars or Fubiquans or Tuart Menagi, beings like that?
Well, yes, I have heard of them, but the way they show up for me is a little different. I have angels that come, and they'll come and pick me up, and they'll take me places, and I end up going beyond the atmosphere, and I'll go into different worlds sometimes. Sometimes I go to heaven. Sometimes I just hang out in the upper atmosphere where all the other beings are. So it changes and it varies. It just depends on whatever lesson I'm to learn or I'm to experience at that point. So I had one really interesting dream that an angel took me, and I felt like I was going up in a rocket, but I was outside, and I could feel the rush of the wind as I was skyrocketing up. And I was going among the asteroids, but the rocks never touched me. That was the interesting part, but they kept coming at me, and I felt like I was going inside of a timeline. It was really interesting. And then all of a sudden I woke up, and then I see all these different beings. And as I see these different beings, they look different than human. They're otherworldly. That's all I can explain. And they were talking to me in their language, yet I understood them in English. And they were talking about how precious the timeline is, and it was all about the timeline. And so I took that idea, and I felt like, I was being spoken to take that concept to understand the space-time continuum effect and bring it in through the story of Guardian of the Dream Tree. So when you read this book, you're going to see the effects and the aspects of the space-time continuum and what it all represents. And the whole part about moving through portals, what tesseracting is, the bending of space and time. So I go into all of that. And of course I did all my research scientifically behind all of that. And so that's an example of how I used one of my experiences in my dreams and bring it into my stories.
Yeah, that sounds real interesting, and we have some similar experiences that way, like that you mentioned the timeline, and we are aware of the time space masqueraders. And do the angels or the fairies or anything have names to you, or are they kind of just there?
I've had 3 of them share their names. I don't have all of them, honestly. It's like I keep asking. Like one I know is one of my angels that are always with me. Her name's Soraya. She's just a very beautiful, large being. And I have another one named Benjamin, and the other one, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I have to think for a second. But that's as far as I've gotten as far as any names of any particular beings. But I see so many different ones, ones that we don't really see here on Earth or that we even see in our own storybooks. There's just so many different types of creatures out there. It's just crazy.
And I'll just ask one more question for now, and then let others ask you some questions.
Sure.
Do they have any guidance as to why we came here to Earth? Do they mention anything about why we're here?
What I know is the purpose of being here is to share love, and it means like loving everyone without fault and being compassionate toward another, and basically just not making people wrong because they exist the way they exist, whatever color they are, whatever ethnicity they are, whatever beliefs they have, even whatever sexual orientation they are. Love is so much bigger than Earth. It's so much bigger than what we're taught in our society. And love is a concept that we still have yet to understand. It's just too big for us to truly understand what the full concept of love is. So that has always been shared with me. And so I try to make it my purpose to turn around and share that compassion and that tender love with others. And I love people without fault. I don't care where they come from. I don't care what they've done. I just want to be there in the same space as them and only allow love to be in the same space as we occupy together.
Thanks again, Heather. And I'll let Val or anybody else that's listening ask some questions now.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is Val again from Huntington Beach. This is very interesting. I really enjoy listening to you, Heather. I do have
Thank you, Val.
a lot of things came up with that, and I'm writing down the questions as you speak. So one of them was, okay, these characters that you meet in the dream state, sometimes we call them the real side, because as some people get the experience, they come back here and they say, "Oh, that was more real there than it is here." And,
yeah, it does feel like that sometimes, doesn't it?
So, these characters that you meet, are they actually in your books? Do you write about them, or do you just use them as reference of some sort, or are they actually in the books that you write?
No, they're actually in the book. Like Father Time, the one that's in charge of the space-time continuum. He's the leader of the Sacred Council. Definitely, I call him Father Time in my book, but he's like the ultimate supreme being, the one that everyone falls under. That's who I call God. I mean, everyone has their own name for it, depending on whatever your spiritual training is. But he's the one that's created and runs all things and is in charge of the time. And there's different timelines too. So, we have the Chronos and the Kairos time, and I don't know of the other times of what you guys in your world experience, but I only know from my own experience. So we call it Chronos time, which is way outside of our timetable. And then we have Kairos time as well. So yes, I do have some of those beings that I've experienced inside my characters.
Yes. Well, we see it as time, basically everything's now. So if you can get through your illusions and your beliefs and your attitudes, your considerations and ideas, which is very challenging, you can see what just already exists. You don't have to believe anything or go anywhere or basically do anything, but just see it as the way it is. We call it recognition. So it just is what it is. You can't add anything to it.
Right.
So, and I like the way you also have this air of innocence almost, and this is always we relate to this also. We're not know-it-alls at all. We're just we call ourselves free beings of light, and we're basically we know nothing, but it's a matter of humility and just seeing what already is. But in order to do that, you have to be sincere and pure. And I'm getting that from you, that you have this purity about you, that these, the life shows you these things that are going on, and we call them the real universes or the dream state, the different life levels. So life is willing to show you its secrets in a way.
You're right, and thank you for that. I appreciate you recognizing that, and that's what attracted me to you, to Henry. When you all came over to my booth, you guys were just so humble. And Kelsey and Eric, and I really appreciated that about you guys, just being that open space of humility. And that's what we need to do is come to our experiences like a child and experience it like a child. And that means not stepping into, oh, I know it all, or I've got this handled. It's like, no, none of us got anything handled. Just come to your experiences newly each time you come to them. And just be free in the moment as you come to that, and be sincere and humble. Always be sincere and humble in life. I truly, truly believe that. And that's what coming to an experience like a child means to me. It just means you're just coming and you're just open without reservations.
Yes, that's wonderful. Kelsey, Henry, and Eric are actually out on assignment today, so they couldn't be here. They're marketing.
Tell them hi for me.
Yeah, I will. And Eric was trying to get on. I don't know. I guess he couldn't make it. But he got a couple of your books, as you know. He hasn't quite started reading them, but he's really anxious to read them, and so am I, actually, when he's through. So it'll be fun. Next question. Have you ever seen any of these beings in the physical?
You mean like an open vision? No, I haven't had that.
No?
Yeah, I haven't had that. Like, I'll have moments where I'll be very still, and all of a sudden this open vision does happen, and it happens for like a split second, and I end up in another place. But I wouldn't say like I actually see a being come right at me, but I can feel them in the realm. So that I do know is they're like all around me. I can feel it. But I haven't seen them. I would love to see them. I keep asking, can I see you guys?
Well, yeah, we interviewed Nancy Visco last week. She was in a booth not too far from you. She also writes about the fairies. And she doesn't see them either, but once she starts writing, they come, you could say they channel through her. I mean, she feels them around her, and she really picks up on the vibe, very much. So different ways of doing it.